Welcome to statistics. We're going to start with some vocabulary. So when you encounter it in your assignments or other lessons, you are able to distinguish what they are looking for. First of all, individuals and variables. Let's take the case of maybe data collected on dogs. The dogs would be the individuals. Oftentimes it's people because we're dealing usually with data about people, but it doesn't have to be people. It could be animals such as our dogs or other things like maybe trees or paper, for instance. Variables are things about those individuals. So like in our case of our dogs, our variables could be maybe the dog's weight, the dog's name. Those are types of things that distinguish between individuals and variables. Some different kinds of variables. The first one is categorical variables. It places into a group or a category. So with our dogs, maybe we could split them into different breeds. That would be a category. The quantitative is a number. So for instance, the dog's weight would be quantitative. There's a number. I can do operations with the numbers, like finding the average weight of the dogs, etc. And the distribution tells us what value it takes and how often it takes these values. So it could be maybe the dog's eating patterns. So how often is it eating a certain kind of food or maybe even amount of food. What we're doing in this class is exploratory data analysis. So we're going to take data and we're going to do numerical summaries and graphs. This section we're actually starting with graphs. So the first two that we're going to talk about are the bar graphs and pie charts, which you've probably dealt with before. Bar graphs typically are vertical, but sometimes they do horizontal. So vertical is like I stand vertically up and down. And then a pie chart, you split it into a circle that represents different percentages. Our first one that we're going to do is a bar and pie chart with data. So you open up the Excel file, and this is for the section 1 lesson. If you need to, you can pause this video at any time to either open up different files or to do the information on your own. And if we look at example 1.4 in our book, on problem 1.4, it's on page 8. There's information about accidental deaths. We're going to enter in this data here. I'm going to go to line or row 2. So they tell us motor vehicle accidents. Make sure you go to the next category over, so do a tab. We can fix the WIS later. So you should be doing the same on yours. Okay, they do give us a total, but I want to make sure. I want to compare those totals here. So what we're going to do after you have all the data, and again, you can pause the video if you need to, we're going to do total and do equal sum and do click on B2 and drag down to B6. You can also type this in, so B2 colon B6, and push enter. So this represents only 71,550. So I'm going to rename this one as subtotal. I know the actual total number of deaths. from accidents was 90,000. Since the numbers do differ, you should always check your data. So we look at the information that's given. Okay. So part A, they're going to have you walk through finding percentages. But we're going to do ours a little different, so we're not going to follow those. We're going to do a bar and a pie graph. If you want to, so you can see the motor vehicles, you can drag this over. So just kind of get your formatting a little bit better. If you want, you can make the subtotal bold. We're going to highlight all of those. So highlight A2 through A6. And then go to Insert. And you'll see here we have a couple of choices. If you want, you to do a bar. Those are horizontal ones. We're going to do columns because we want vertical ones. You can really choose any of these. We're going to just choose the first one. And it will lay it all out for us, and it does the bar graph for us. If you want, you can change here. There's different chart types. So if we wanted to add a title onto here, we could choose that one and do deaths by accidents. I'm actually going to get rid of this series 1 because we don't need it. So you just click on it and delete it. And then you can move this one anywhere onto the page. Now is a good time to take and save your Excel workbook as your last name and the section 1. All right, we'll just do 1. Then we're going to do a pie chart. So we're going to highlight those, insert, and then a pie chart. And it does all of it for you. And again, this one, we're going to add a title again. And you can resize it. Okay, let's do one more pie chart because this isn't representative of all the deaths by accidents. So this represents only 71,000. So we're going to add in, I'll just do it on top here, an other category. So really the other would represent the 90,000. So you can click on B9 minus the subtotal, which is B7, and push enter. So that means 18,899 are caused by other types of accidents. So we can do insert and we can do both of these over again. So making bar graphs and pie charts is really easy using Excel. Again, just highlight the information that you want to do, insert pie chart. So organize these in a nice manner and check your assignment sheet to see how you have to churn these in. The next section is a histogram. So what a histogram does is it looks similar to a bar graph. It's just they're distributing the information differently. It is a frequency distribution, so it tells you how frequently different types of information are appearing. So to make a histogram by hand is we're going to sort the information into classes of equal width, count the number of observations in each class, and draw the histogram. To do this, we're going to use the data from table 1.2 in our book. If you go back to your Excel, the information is already there. We're going to do this one by hand, and I'm also going to show you how to do it on your calculator. To make this data make more sense, we're going to take and we're going to sort the data from smallest to largest. So that way it's in equal, or it's in order. So when we distribute into groups of information, we have that. Our numbers go from 16 to 33. So we have to decide how wide we want our categories to be. Let's just say we want ours to be maybe 5 wide, and we'll start with 15. So we'll do 15, well, we'll do 15 to 19, 20. So these are our categories. So we have 4, and then we're going to count how many are in here. So 15 to 19, there is 1. 20 to 24, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 25 to 29, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 18. And 30 to 34, I have 3. Now, obviously, doing these a different way, so different widths, maybe a width of 2, for instance, would come with different information. So to do this on our thing, we're going to just do our bar graph again, and it makes a histogram. Now, your calculator will also do histograms for you. So get your calculator, turn it on, do stat, and we're going to choose option number 1, edit. And we have to put all of that data into the information. If you already have things there under list 1 or list 2, push clear. Go up to the top and push clear to clear out any of the data that is there. We don't need that. So then you can just start typing your information. Okay, now this one says I have 27 items. So I want to make sure. Which one I have extra. So take a moment to check your data over again. Okay, mine had an extra 28 in there, so yours should now look the same as mine. It should say list 1, 27. If not, go back through your data and figure out which one that you don't have in order. And then you can quit, so second quit, and then do second y equals, and we're going to go into stat plot 1. First thing we're going to do is turn it on, so push enter. And then we're going to do, there's a few options down here. We want the histogram. And it should say list 1. And if you push graph, it will make a histogram. We do have to fix our window here. Actually, we're going to do one other thing. Mine still is graphing something else. So if you go to y equals, you want to either clear your y equals or just turn the graphs off. To turn them off, you can go to the equal sign and push enter, and it turns them on and off. And we're going to change our window. We know our x values go between 16 and 33, so I'm going to go 15 to 35 with a 5. And ours, when I did it by hand, it went up to 18, so I'm going to go 0 to 20. This one, we can go by ones and then see what happens. So then the graph looks similar. Histograms are connected. So you're literally doing the numbers 15 through 19. You can also do these by hand as well. If you wanted to change your width a little bit, we could say width of 2, for instance. And so you can change the width of the histograms just in this window any way that you would like to have the data. There is a little bit about the data that we want to talk about. And just the overall pattern. So what do you see in the histogram? Deviation is anything that doesn't fit the pattern. So if we take a look at ours, I'm going to go back to our 5 here. It looks sort of like this first set, which was the 16, doesn't really fit the data. So that would be a deviation or also an outlier. And the shape, center, spread describe the overall pattern of it. We're going to talk a little bit about that. They do have 2 different kinds. So like the first one's symmetric. I would say ours looks fairly symmetric, especially if you get rid of this 16. This one skewed to the right is another pattern that you will see. I do one more thing before we stop with histograms, and that is if you go to second draw, and go down, oops, no, here it is, go over, store picture. You can store the picture as anything. Let's store ours as A. Oh, I think it has to be a number, sorry. Store 1. And then what happens, so that way later on, when our histogram isn't there anymore and I need to see it as your teacher, you can recall that picture. So it will save the picture in there so I know what picture to look for. Don't forget to also watch part 2 of this video that is on stem plots and time plots.